Side Passe, what's up? We're back at the Credit Summit Day 3. We're here with our brother Don Vito. What's up, man?
Yo, son, we up in here, B.
You sound like you from New York, bro.
No, man, I'm happy to be on the Side Passe podcast, man. You guys are some great guys. I like your energy, man. And I like the direction that you guys are going.
Thank you.
I appreciate
Glad
it, man.
and Rob. I'm glad I met Rob.
That's what's
That's
up.
the first time I heard that. I like that.
That's the first time.
Man,
for
you
sure.
are a wealth of knowledge. You've been giving us a lot of information, but you're the behind the scenes guy to a lot of stuff, man. Talk to the people about what you involved in the podcast scene.
Well, first, my name is Don Vito, a.k.a. the Power Father. I'm a two-time Grammy-nominated multi-platinum music producer that transitioned into the podcast world. And so my first podcast was Candy Coated Nights. You all know as Candy Birds, but we had an online podcast called Candy Coated Nights. It's basically sexually oriented. Then I won't say my second podcast because it didn't quite make it to the light of day. But the third podcast you might be familiar with is called Inside the Vault with Ash Cash. I'm the co-founder of that. The co-founder of it with Ash Cash is on the Earn Your Leisure Network, and then I got another podcast that's doing very well called The Gods Show. The Gods, a lot of people are like, is that a Christian show? No, it's not a Christian show. Gods, GAUDS, is an acronym that stands for goats and underdogs.
Man, talk to us about that, man. Who have you had on lately, and who do you anticipate coming on the podcast?
Well, on the God Show right now, that's like crazy because when we first started, Ray Daniels is the host, the culture referee. When we started, I looked at it like, okay, well, I know how long it took me to get Inside the Vault up and running, and so I was like, well, let's just brace for 18 months. But shit, in the past year, man, it's like every month we're going viral. So some of the people we've had on the show is Jermaine Dupri, that went viral. Master P went viral. Benzino episode went viral. Troy Carter from Shark Tank went viral. The Joe Budden went viral. It's a freak of nature.
Nah, that's what's
Powerful,
up,
man.
So, also, I got this question. Why do you choose the podcast world?
That's an interesting question, man. When I first did it with Candy Birds, it wasn't really called podcasting, right? And so I did it because she's my friend. She asked me to help her. We produced music and wrote songs together. And so she's like, just come by my house and, help me. So I looked at it. I was like, oh, I like this thing. And so I committed to it. I'm the type of person like, if I can't see myself committing to something, I won't do it. And so my second opportunity was a friend called me. He's like, yo, man, you should do podcasting, man, because you know all that technical stuff. I was like, podcasting? What do you mean? He's like, man, podcasting make money. I'm like, what? And so he gave me a couple examples. I was like, I'm about to do a podcast. And so then my mind locked into podcasting. And so that's what happened. And then, I ran into Ash Cash. I thought he lived in New York. And so, I didn't know how to pursue him. But I kept saying to myself, you know what? I'm going to work with this guy one day. I don't know how. So I kind of manifested the relationship. I saw him one day. I saw him coming up to an event. And then I walked up to him, hey, Ash, I got this idea, man. I'm going to just, for a podcast. I didn't really have no podcast idea. But I just
You just wanted to meet him. Okay.
I knew my friend was in the event filming. So I said, man, just come in here, man. And you're going to see my setup. But it was my friend's setup. So I made sure that when he saw me in the setup, I was behind the camera looking like I knew what I was doing. So he's like, this you? I was like, yeah, it's me, man. It's me. And so I reached over to my friend like, yo, we about to produce this dude. He got a lot of followers. And then the God Show, by that time, I knew how to grow and monetize the podcast into a 6-7 figure business. So when I ran into Ray Daniels, he was just telling me, man, I got this idea for a podcast. I think it's a podcast, but I need you to come check it out. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to come check it out, man. I'm going to come. And he just kept. So I was like, okay, when I came and then I went by and I saw it, I was like, damn, I can do something with this. And I wanted to get back into the music industry on the podcast tip anyway. So it was just a segue for me to get back into it.
And the rest is history.
Dope story. Dope.
As a producer, there may be young producers out there who want to get into the game. What nugget of knowledge would you give somebody coming up into producing music or into the podcast game?
That's a good question, man. What nugget would I give a producer that's trying to transition into podcasting?
Just wants to do podcasting.
If you're going to be the producer, if you got to decide if you want to be in front of the camera or behind the camera. If you want to be in front of the camera, then it's going to take a little bit more work because it's a lot of work because a lot of times people, as you know, you probably experience the same thing. You come into the podcast and you be thinking, oh man, it's easy. All you got to do is turn the camera on. Then you realize that you get into it, it's like, damn, I got to shoot it,
Yeah.
I gotta edit it. You know what I'm saying? I gotta invite the guests. I got all these tasks that has to be done. And
Right.
so I would say that decide what you want to do. And the main thing I tell even people that have a podcast, because a lot of times people wing it, you wanna define your audience. Because a lot of times people are trying to be all things to everybody. And so if you're talking to everybody, you're really not talking to nobody. So I always think that the riches are in the niches. That's where the real money is. In anything, right? The riches are in the niches. And then the other thing I would say is, I think we had this conversation earlier. It was like, you know, when I asked you guys, how often do you record? And you guys were like, you know, twice a week.
Yeah.
But the best thing to do is batch record it, right? Which means, you know, decide on, first define your audience, and then decide on, you know, who the guests are going to be, or if it's the format of the show, right? And podcast is not just you interviewing guests. It could be you two having a conversation with each other. That's called, that format is called, I can't think of the name of it, but that's a format. But do you know that the most watched, the biggest money maker in podcasting, what do you think it is? Format.
Audio? Visual.
No, I'm sorry about format. So there's
Celebrities?
no, believe it or not, it's the documentary style true crime.
Wow.
That's the biggest money maker in podcasting.
Dark podcast. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It takes a little longer to produce, but the money that you can make from it, from the advertising and other ancillary income that you can make from it, is really
Documented.
what you could do. But back to the, you know, and to answer your question, so you want to figure out, schedule the guests, and then set out like about 2 to 3 days of just batch recording where you have the guests and you say, I'm going to record 3 guests today, 3 to 4 guests today, 4 guests tomorrow, 4 guests the next day. Well, that's 12 episodes, which equals 3 months. Now you can figure out, okay, is this working? Is it worth me pursuing? And you don't have to keep scrambling trying to figure it out, because a lot of times people don't make it to podcast number 15. I call that the pod grave. And so they get what I call pod fade.
Hey man, let people know where they can find out and check out your podcast, man.
Well, you can find The God Show, GAUDS, on YouTube. The God Show. You can go to Ray Daniels Media. You can check out some of the episodes. You can go watch Inside the Bar with Ash Cat. That's on the Earning Legion Network. You can find me on Instagram at DonVitoXL. And you can join my free masterclass where I teach you how to launch, grow, and monetize your podcast to a 7-figure business. You go to @DonVitoXL. That's DonVitoXL. Click the link in the bio. You can get my ebook, or you can join my free masterclass. Like I said,
Hey, we gonna tap in with you, man.
tap in.
Mr.
Going down.
Podfather himself.
Mr. Don Vito.
It's the Podfather.
You should be in front of the camera, man.
Yeah, for real, man. Stop being behind the scenes.
Yeah,
I know,
man.
You know what? To be honest with you, I have decided to be in front of the camera, because what happens is, you know, listen, I experienced this as a producer all my life, right? I'll take an act, they'll express, hey, I need you to help me, and then I'll help them get to what they need to do, and then they come back to like, man, you ain't really do that. I could have did that myself. All you did was this. So they do, you know, and then I'm in the shadows. So my whole mission now is, because I don't really do interviews, so this is kind of
Right.
like me, my step, like, let me do some interviews. You
It's
know what I'm
exclusive right here, then.
saying? Right. Exclusive.
We
New
got the
shit.
exclu- we
New
got the
shit. Yo,
exclusive shit.
sock passe.
Suck passe,
Yo,
son.
son.
Yo, son.
Queens in the
Brooklyn, where you at?
Yo, beat.
BK, all day.
All day. White Plains, kid.
Yo, Team Sock Passe.
Stop by saying we
We
out.
out.
Don Vito.
Hey.